Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On ACC. We hope that you are making us your first listen. I already know you're holding it down, giving us 5-star reviews, because that's how we do over here in ACC country. We have a special episode. Normally, I'm talking to Jersey Drake on Friday, and you'll actually hear him later on in the show because I couldn't let my guy get away without giving me some hoop knowledge. But as you guys know, it is football time, ACC championship on Saturday, and Nick Farabaugh is here to break down the Pittsburgh Panthers. He hosts Locked On Pitt. He gives you all of that action, football, basketball, and more. So I'm excited to talk to my guy. Some keys to win for those Panthers because I know he's got them. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Candace, as always. Thanks for having me on. First time actually on Locked On ACC, and I'm here, and I'm looking forward to it.
You know, it's always fun to get the guys who aren't normally in the rotation on the show, but more importantly, the fact that Pitt is in because of a championship, it's even more lit.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy. We're going to be down in Charlotte this weekend. You know, it's just crazy to see Pitt out of all teams in a game like this. And it actually matters. Feels like they could win, because I remember last time we were down there in 2018, I was like, okay, no chance Pitt's beating Clemson. But now I feel like, okay, Pitt can actually win this thing and we can get to the Peach Bowl. So it's legit.
Yeah, no doubt. And for anyone who is not familiar, Wake Forest and Pittsburgh will take their talents to Charlotte on Saturday in the ACC championship game. Both teams evenly matched. They have the same record, 10-2, have 7-1 when it comes to conference play. But there have been like a little bit of tale of two different teams in terms, well, I will say they're pretty even. Okay, I was going to say, well, maybe a little defense, a little better than others, but sometimes it got a little dicey for some. So let's talk about Pitt. How did we get here? A team that wasn't expected to win the Coastal. It was all the talk about Carolina, all talk about Miami, even had a little sprinkle of Virginia in here, and then boom, here comes the Pittsburgh Panthers with that senior leadership led by Kenny Pickett, future Heisman, hopeful, right? How did they get to this place here coming to play in Charlotte on Saturday?
They got here behind offense, and that's how they got here. Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison, Israel Abanikanda, that newly improved O-line. I can't leave out the tight ends. Lucas Kroll and Gavin Bartholomew are a real good duo. And they also got production from the receivers outside of Addison with Wayne, Mack, Barden, all these guys. And they're a little banged up now, but it is what it is. The defense, to their credit, they stepped up big on Thursday night in UNC, but they've been pretty bad this year, to say the least. And that's kind of the story of Pitt's season is.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're 10-2, and any Pitt fan coming into the season would take that, but it almost feels like they kind of underachieved because they lost to Western Michigan and they lost to what is a pretty mediocre Miami team. So they could easily be playing for a playoff spot here instead of playing for a spot in the Peach Bowl. But they got here because Kenny Pickett has turned the ratchet up on everything and is just playing an unbelievable season right now. And then you look at Jordan Addison, the guy is probably one of the best receivers, probably the Biletnikoff winner. Like they have a ton of talent on this team right now offensively, and they're just so hard to stop. No team has done it so far really this year.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, Jordan Addison, I saw him with my own two eyes, and I'm just going to sit here and say he embarrassed, defenders out there. But Kenny Pickett breaking Dan Marino type numbers, you can't not put him in the conversation to be one of the better quarterbacks, the top quarterback in the ACC, offensive player of the year, all these accolades that are well-deserved. But for you, were there any surprises to his game that you kind of knew he was due for this kind of season?
Well, you knew he was due for a good season. This season, though, the out of structure stuff, he does that all the time. He's always been tough, so you knew the gritty runs were going to be there. It's kind of Kenny Pickett, and it's always been Kenny Pickett. Even his first game when they knocked off number 2 Miami, he had a game-sealing, big-time run. I did not expect the prolific deep ball numbers that we got, though. I mean, he's throwing the deep ball better than I've ever seen him throw the deep ball. That was a weakness for Kenny Pickett, like as late last year. And then he came back from his ankle injury last year, started throwing a lot better, but their running game actually got going. And that was kind of what everyone thought, okay, that's what's going on right here. Kenny Pickett is throwing the deep ball as well as anybody in the country. I don't know if there's anyone better actually throwing the deep ball right now. It's partially Jordan Addison. It's partially Kenny Pickett. He just his touchdown throw against Syracuse, he went off his back foot, floated it up, and it was a perfect dime to Jordan Addison. And that's kind of been the surprise. That's the leap he's taken. He's just so accurate now. And every time he steps back and you say, oh, there's Jordan Addison 30 yards downfield, you just say, touchdown or supposed to play whatever. That's kind of what's gotten to at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, maybe I'm starting to think that if you want to be an elite quarterback in the ACC, you got to have the long lock. So first it was Trevor, now it's Kenny. So next season, I don't know who's trying to be top dog. So Devin Leary, if you're listening, you might want to grow that bad boy out. Like if you want to have a top season, you might as well go ahead and get those locks together. But how can this Wake Forest defense? I'm not sure that they have enough horses in the stable to stop a Kenny Pickett. That's why I give Pitt a little bit of the edge. But when it comes to, Wake's D, they're not really good at stopping the run, but that's not something that necessarily Pitt is, talented at. But when it comes to the deep ball, the secondary for Wake Forest also struggles. So do you even see it being a problem on Saturday?
I don't see it being a problem. The only way it's a problem is if Kenny Pickett has to come from behind very early. And this is kind of what happened against Miami. Kenny Pickett didn't really have a trouble against Miami, but he ended up pushing a lot of things because they had to come back. And he threw a really bad pick at the end of the game. And that's kind of what ended it. Now, granted, he had over 500 yards of passing. It wasn't his fault they lost that game. But that's kind of what he got into. And same thing against Western Michigan. He got into a little bit of a rut. 3 turnovers in that game, 2 fumbles, a pick as well. They had to come back, and that's kind of what lost them that game, in addition to a terrible defense. So it's like if the defense doesn't pick it up early and the offense gets off to like a semi-slow start, which they have at times this year. They did against Syracuse. They did it against Clemson. They did it against a few teams this year. If that happens, then yeah, it could be an issue. But I think Wake Forest also has to worry about the run game because Pitt has showcased the ability to take care of the run game when they need to. And they did it against Virginia. Izzy Abanikanda will be back this week after missing last week due to a soft tissue injury. So they also have to worry about that because Vincent Davis, Rodney Hammond, and Izzy Abanikanda are a formidable trio of backs that they at least have to worry about. Again, that's not, you said it perfectly, that's not Pitt's forte, but when teams have showcased the ability to maybe stop Kenny Pickett a little bit, Pitt has no problem putting the foot down on the ground game and hitting you in the mouth a little bit. And I think they will. So I think Pitt's going to have an ability to maybe hit them on both the ground and the deep pass. And I think that's Wake Forest's nightmare because if Pitt can control the game, right? I'm just thinking like if Pitt can control the game from the ground and keep Sam Hartman off the field as well, I think that's when Wake really gets into big time trouble.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, before we switch over to defense, there was some talk about the health of all of the guys, or a couple of the guys feeling those symptoms. I want to know if everyone's good to go. We're ready to roll. Take a cup of Tylenol. Let's get this thing going.
So it sounds like everyone's good to go. And listen, I heard it from the guy who reported himself, Chris Carter, yesterday on Locked On Pitt. He came on and said, it's not a big issue. Kenny's good. Kenny is all good. He's practicing again. And it seems like everyone's feeling good. They're wearing masks. They're kind of doing all these extra precautions. They're feeling it out. So it seems like Pitt's going to be good to go, and they shouldn't miss anyone from the flu, at least on Saturday.
No doubt. All right, defense, it hasn't been the best part of Pitt's total game, but that's Narduzzi's thing. He's supposed to be the coach that can coach a well-defended team and all of these kind of accolades when it comes. But you're talking about a program that had to make up for 6 guys going to the league, right? And now they find themselves in the championship. How well have they done in terms of just getting the job a little bit better off than everyone expected? And can they do that against a guy like Sam Hartman, A.T. Perry, who loves a good little pass interference from time to time? And, get his opportunities to not really make them have a high-flying offense that they're used to.
Well, Pitt's been a hit-or-miss defense kind of all year. And it's sometimes, they're absolutely abysmal. First quarter against Miami, for example, awful. Western Michigan, awful. Third quarter against Tennessee, probably the worst they played all year. They were pretty bad against Virginia, too. They had a few key stops, though, and that's kind of what's been Pitt's defense is, well, we'll give up 38. Our offense is probably going to score 48, and we'll be able to get the key stop that we need. Yeah. And they did that against UNC, too, in overtime. They were also aided by Monsoon in that game. But, they've been able to do it, even though the offense hasn't been, starting swell all the time. The defense has been able to do some things. They stopped Syracuse last week. They held Sean Tucker to like 20 yards rushing. I mean, that's really impressive. So there have been things that they've done well, things that they've really been bad at. It depends on which Pitt defense shows up. The good Pitt defense, they'll probably win this game pretty easily, actually. The bad Pitt defense shows up, it could be bad. And that's the thing. Pitt's D line is going to have to show up and show up big. Guys like Kalijah Cansey and Haba Baldonado and John Morgan and Deslin Alexander and Keyshawn Camp. Those guys are going to have to collapse that pocket and hit Sam Hartman, rather. They're going to have to smack him in the face because they have that real long mesh point, that long handoff at the RPOs. That's going to be what they're going to do. And that's what Kalijah Cansey said. We got to absolutely kill that guy every time that they run that RPO, expecting to hit Sam Hartman. I wouldn't be shocked, if there are a few DPIs, because A.T. Perry, as you said, monster of them. I think he leads the ACC in those penalties, by the way. So it's not surprising at all. It's going to have a tough time. It's going to have a tough time, I think.
Now, we've all hyped up. I had Cam Lemons from SB Nation on the other day. We've all hyped up offense on both sides. Do you feel like because we've all made it to be this big to-do from offense, it's going to be a great defensive performance from both sides?
I'm not going to completely just throw it out the window. I mean, I think everyone going to the UNC game, I had you on for the UNC game. I think we thought it was going to be an absolute shootout, and the game ended up being 23-23 at the end of regulation. That was a game where it happened, and Pitt's defense played really well, and so did UNC's defense out of kind of nowhere. It could happen. Weird things have happened in football. Pitt's coming on. The flu thing with Pitt absolutely can make it be such a thing. And Pitt's defense has shown the capable that at their best, they can stop really good offenses. So if Pitt maybe comes out sluggish from maybe a missed day or two preparation, that's possible. If their defense comes out though and is ready to rock and roll, it's possible. I expect it to still be a pretty high flying game. But it wouldn't surprise me if we saw the defenses kind of hold it down here for a little bit.
No doubt. All right, final predictions. Are you kind of a guy who likes to give scores? If so, drop it for me. If not, just tell me what kind of game you're expecting.
Okay, now I drop a score every week over there at Locked On Pitt. We do our preview Friday, and we drop a score. And I think I'm going to drop the same score that I'm going to drop over there. I think Pitt does end up winning this game. And I just like the high-flying Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison offense, but I think the run game has come along for Pitt kind of the second half of the year, and it's given them a little bit of a second dimension against teams like Wake and teams like Virginia, for example. They were able to really run the ball well against Virginia. I see this game playing out pretty similar to that Virginia game. There's similar aspects to, I think, Virginia and Wake. And also, the thing that also has caught me kind of off the guard is that Sam Hartman recently has been a little bit prone to turnovers, kind of down the stretch. That's been the big thing. And Pitt's an opportunistic defense. While they might not be a good one, they will pick the ball off. They'll force fumbles. They're an opportunistic defense that forces a lot of turnovers. So I think Pickett's a key turnover here or there. Kenny Pickett in the offense, obviously, taking that margin for error, are going to go with it. And I think Pitt wins this one. I'm going to throw out 45-35 Pitt.
Oh, damn. I'm going to write that down just because 45-35. Okay, that's a nice number. Well, we'll see. I'm excited for a good game. I think just the fact that both teams were not who we were expecting makes this fun. And of course, great offense always makes for a better game. So I think that's pretty interesting. But Nick, I really enjoy having our conversations always. And I know people are going to want you back after they watch this episode. Can you please remind folks of where they can find you, follow all your work?
Yeah, as always, thanks for having me on, Candace. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Nick_Farabaugh. You guys can see that, though, probably on the graphic. Reading my stuff at Pittsburgh Sports Now. I write for Pitt and Steelers over there. And make sure, always check out Locked On Pitt. We do great stuff daily over there. We're talking Kenny Pickett. We're talking everything. And as soon as football season gets over, we'll talk about men's basketball, too. So if you want to wallow in despair about that program with me, join me on Winter.
Very nice. Very nice. Guys, we have Jersey Drake in the building to talk preview of conference schedule. It's dropping today. So we're going to make sure we get you guys squared away with that. Thank you, Nick, for always giving me that good insight at Locked On ACC on Twitter, and you can subscribe on YouTube. What's going on, everybody? Jersey Drake in the building here to give me his best takes from ACC conference schedule that we're about to hit. He hosts Locked On Seminoles podcast, Noles Anonymous, all of that good stuff. He holds it down for the Florida State Seminoles. So I would love to hear his thoughts because apparently they're new bloods, and Mr. Leonard Hamilton is supposed to be the coach that is kind of replacing this he's the old dog now, one of the older dogs. Coach K is leaving.
Doesn't look like it, though.
Gonna be the oldest. Oh, no. Black don't crack, so you already know what time it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
But he absolutely is one that always has depth, always is able to, make people a little bit nervous. But as we're looking at the conference as a whole, and we'll talk about it, I feel like it's Duke and everybody else. but I first want to hear from you. How are you feeling about the conference, Drizzy Drake?
I think the conference is a better spot than last year, primarily
Okay.
because I mean Duke had probably one of the worst year thing I've in my lifetime. I think is becoming a basketball fan,
Yeah.
specifically a college basketball fan. And now with this Coach K, farewell tour, like he's getting the Kobe love. You know how Draymond Green was talking about Paul Pierce, like you're not Kobe, they don't love you like that. AC does love a little bit of Coach K. We love to love him, love to follow him, or we love to hate him. Like that's the camp that I'm in personally.
Yeah.
Because nothing is better than being Duke, but it is in a much better spot because of Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero, that kid is nice. That kid is gross. That kid is definitely going to be a overall first pick.
That kid got cramps. No, I'm just kidding. That's not nice.
Hey, listen, when they said he was a sweaty guy, I'm like, I'm the same damn way leaving Orange Theory or LA Fitness after a workout. I'm like, but that man dropped 7 pounds in one game. But
we were talking about that with JJ. I said we need to get on the Paolo plan because if I could get on the Paolo plan and lose 7 pounds just by one workout, I would be in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I had to get new measurements for my suit for this wedding I have next month. But on all serious note, I think he's probably the most complete college basketball player we've seen in a very long time.
Oh, wow.
He can shoot. He's big. He's talented. And he's just someone he's really fun to watch. He kind of brings that, the sort of dog mentality that I haven't seen in a Duke, player maybe like to me, JJ kind of had that a little bit. Grayson was just more of a prick, in my personal opinion. He wasn't really, a nicer player. But JJ actually brought that sort of, the tenacity, the aggression to the field. And Paul really does bring that. It's really nice to see with Duke.
Is he more exciting than the Zion era, the Cam Reddish era, RJ Barrett? Or is he like he does enough to where we're going to be impressed, but he's not going to stop the show?
That's a good question because, I mean, I do think Wendell Moore Jr. is playing really, really well alongside him, but I do think he does kind of like a little more – he's exciting because he can carry an entire team on his back, and it kind of reminds me a lot of the Syracuse team that won, I think, in the early 2000s with Carmelo Anthony, when you knew you had that one superstar stud player, and Paolo Banchero is that guy. Paolo, he's eventually going to be the number one Paolo behind the Paolo from, Lizzie McGuire movie. So to me, like he's got that sort of mentality, heading into the game. So
he's going to carry this Duke team on its back to win the ACC title, regular season and tournament title.
Yeah, this is going to be me like biting my words a little bit, primarily because I was very hyped on this Florida State team. But after seeing, I have a co-host. We have a weekly special edition for basketball called Dunks, Dribbles, and Dimes, aka Triple Ds, for our, on the Locked On Network. And I was super hyped about our team because we know we have depth. The problem with that depth is, Candace, they're super young.
Yeah,
they're all 18-year-olds, and it's not like 18-year-old like Scotty Barnes or Paolo Banchero or even Patrick Williams from 2 years ago. It's 18 and 19-year-old development players, and that's something that's going to definitely be an issue moving forward. Because did you watch the Purdue game last night?
I said this on the Thursday show with Tyler Aki that I think it's more indicative of how good Purdue is and not how bad Florida State is.
No, I agree with that. The thing is, though, you saw how young and not ready this team is, to start banging with bigger boys. Like that's Purdue to me coming into the year was 100% a Final Four team. They got Travion Williams, Jay Ivey, and some kid that's like, I think 8'3", and Zach Edey, I think is the kid's name, number 15 for them, who just literally, it's physical basketball. And the one thing we've seen with FSU over the course of the year, or 6 games wise, when they face a big man, they get stopped. And that was more evident from the Purdue game. But if you look at the Florida game in the beginning of the year with Colin Castleton, who I think is 7'2", 7'3", they definitely don't have the size nor the maturity to kind of deal with that. And then now you're seeing, poor shot selection, which is another issue with maturity and how young these kids are. So, I mean, I had in the year coming that's going to be us, probably being on top of it. If we maybe get in the flow of things, maybe by February, that might be enough to like challenge that. But quite frankly, with this Duke team, the way they shut down Gonzaga, like that to me is the team.
Yeah, listen, I think that it's Duke and everybody else, but I would love to see Carolina defensively step their game up and get it together when it matters most come February and March. I think that they can. Like, I think if they really have these heart-to-hearts, they need to come to Jesus. I ain't going to hold you. They need a defensive come to Jesus. But if they can figure it out, they have the offense. I'd rather have poor defense than horrible offense. Last season, they couldn't buy a basket. Now they know how to shoot. They just can't guard nobody. They have to start being unselfish when it comes to that. You're going to have to step up in big ways and figure out who you are. Maybe it's going to be a punch in the mouth against a Michigan team. They're going to have this ACC Big Ten challenge. But when you start getting into conference play, they start on Sunday. here. I think it's going to be a really big deal and very indicative of how this season is going to go for them. They're going to have to battle. It's going to be same as last season. They're going to have to earn every single conference win that they get. Some may come, some may not. But I think that's also with every team here besides Duke. You're going to have to earn every single one because on any given night, any of these teams can look incredible, but they all, and then some can sneak up on you. A Wake Forest can sneak up on you. A Boston College can sneak up on you while you're playing. Like, you could just have an off night and they could catch you sleeping at the wheel.
What's actually really interesting when you say that, because the one thing I will never, be hard on for Coach Ham is every single year his team defensively is just amazing. Right now, I think by events metrics, even after Purdue, they're top 20, which is absurd. And you got Cameron Fletcher, the University of Kentucky transfer coming in, who I would much rather have him start. But listen, if you want to keep the streak of 4 straight 6 man of the year for the ACC, up a band,
there you go.
So one thing I do notice with this team is they're very similar to your UNC team from last year, where the fact is they're super, super young. But the problem is that we don't have that definitive big man. We had that with Balsa Krupovica last year. Like, that was my man, Big Balsa. Raekwon Gray, aka Baby James Harden, he's gone too. Scotty Tuhati, he's gone too. So it's like, right now we're trying to find the one guy to sort of, catapult us there. But we're a very young team that is prone to a lot of droughts, a lot of shooting. So it's going to be a very interesting, thing coming. We start play with Syracuse on Sunday. I think that's the way we play. Yeah, we play Syracuse on Sunday. So I think that's a game that we should definitely win. I think we're the more talented team, across the board. I know it's Jim Boeheim and his son, but all they have is Jim Boeheim and his son. I'm not really scared of that. This isn't your mama's or your daddy's freaking Syracuse team. Carmelo Anthony came through that door. And here's Jeremy McNamara. And here's Fab Melo. No one's coming through that door.
Yeah, so. That's fair. Listen, I am not going to disagree with you here, but is there anybody else? We start conference play on Friday. Boston College, Virginia, all these good matchups we have going on. Anybody standing out to you besides Duke? Anyone that might have a fair shot at even being in the top 5 of the conference?
I mean, UNC always get. You got the new Herbert coach, but I think that's someone that you have the talent there. Hubert. I'm sorry, Hubert.
He is a Herb, but his name is
Okay, so that was more rude than me mispronouncing his name, but no. Okay, sorry, Hubert. Coach Hubert in the house. That's fine, but also, you always got to worry about University of Virginia. UVA with the head coach.
Fair.
That definitely brings them up there. But other than that, I think it's Duke, y'all, us, and UVA. You can say Wake Forest is a decent team. Georgia Tech, I think Jose Alvarado's gone, so I'm not really that. And that man was a dog. That man was a blood, sweat, and tears kind of player. Like, he reminded me a lot of JJ Barea when the Miami Heat. I'm a Heat fan. Played them in the finals against the Mavericks. He's gone.
Yeah, Boston College, and Moses Wright being gone is huge for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, so I think it's just those 4. I think now it's the core 4. I was like, I'm going to call
not
them
even
now,
Louisville. Not even Syracuse.
See, but because whenever we play Louisville, it's close, but we always end up winning the game. So I'm not really scared of them. Syracuse, I think, is going to be coming with a down year. I think they always don't perform that well, but then we saw last year with the tournament, they actually did, perform over expectations. So for regular season, I'm not really scared of them either.
Okay. They figure it out. But the Boeheim boys, I guess it's got to be awkward as hell to play with 2 brothers and their daddy. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I would say no. That's my dad tried that for baseball with me and my younger brother. That didn't work out too well, trust me.
No? Did he yell at you guys harder than he did the rest of the team?
Oh, hell yeah. Are you kidding me? You never see me? Oh, no, my dad's that stereotypical Latino dad. No. When it comes to baseball, oh, my God. Andresillo. Come here real quick. And that's the G version of that, too. Trust me. You only go during playoff time.
I can only imagine. Man, it's just so I figured, having all the guys here, we're going to talk about conference schedule starting. We get a little hype about it, but it seems very solid. And everyone's like, listen, Duke and everybody else will just pray for the best.
Yeah, because we don't know what it is, though. So with college football, to me, that's what basketball is very, very interesting, right? We don't know what a team really is until maybe January or February. That's when you know everyone's identity. Because there's so many unknowns, and in college basketball, there's so much roster turnover, right? I just named off 3 people that we lost, and we lost 3 more over the transfers. Same thing goes across the board. We have a coach that's leaving. We have 2 new coaches coming in. You have Chris Mack, who's starting to get a little bit better. So that's why it's really difficult to gauge how teams are until conference play starts, and we at least get 2 months, out of them, right? So that's kind of why. Yeah. You see a sullen mood. I think it's more. We're reserving our opinions, I guess, forward till we have more evidence, to discuss it. Any attorney will say give you that answer. So
That's very fair and honest, and I appreciate the honesty. Drizzy Drake, we have more interviews to give, but I want folks to know where they can find you and follow your work.
You can follow me at Tally__Drake. You can follow my co-host at MaxMovie17. You can follow the podcast at LO_Seminoles, whether you get it Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast from. And also you can follow at Knowles Anonymous. We have a Discord now. That's where we engage with our fans. We get DMs. That's where we get all of our topics, where we answer fan mail. And as always, we're fans first, people second, and podcasters third. So join us out.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.